It's not going away. People hear about it. This idea of transhumanism, kind of give for the audience that are like, I still haven't really figured out what that is.
Yeah.
Kind of give us a definition and where it's going, who's involved, and why we should be concerned.
Transhumanism is perhaps the foremost sign of the times. Exponential increases in technology are rapidly moving us toward the synthesis of humans and machines, and even the alteration of human DNA, all with the goal of eventually replacing human beings, Homo sapiens, with post-human beings, Homo cyberneticus. Although the movement toward transhumanism is extremely dangerous and self-destructive, it has many advocates and defenders. The following video features an edited compilation of differing views on transhumanism, including those for it and those against it. Do not be deceived by those who would argue for it. It is not of God.
Every aspect of our lives has been reshaped by technology, from the way we get around, the way we seek information, and the way we communicate. It's easy to think that if only our technology advances enough, we'll finally be satisfied. The fact is, we remain shackled by our primitive Darwinian brains. Humanity, for whatever progress we have made, is the result of an unguided, natural, 3.8 billion year long experiment of chemistry. Evolution is the process that has made you what you are.
Evolution is a critical underpinning for transhumanism. If human beings evolved from lifeless matter, and God did not create man in his image, bestowing innate worth on us, then seeking this sort of improved version of humanity would pose no moral dilemma. To the transhumanist, transhumanism is simply the next phase of human evolution.
And so, what begins as humanism, our most sympathetic understanding and treatment of human nature, becomes transhumanism, the drive to fundamentally revolutionize what it means to be human by way of technological advancements. Changing human nature might be the most dangerous idea in all of human history, or perhaps the most liberating.
They want to create their version of utopia on the planet, right? And part of that involves creating what they call a post-human species. Most people have caught on to that. It's been out for a while, that term post-human. What's post-human? It means you're not human anymore. Mm-hmm. Crazy as that sounds. Most people are starting to catch on to that. So the latest term is human 2.0. Doesn't that sound more palatable?
That sounds like a great upgrade.
I mean, it's just like
who doesn't like
phone.
upgrade?
You get an upgrade on your phone, right? How about an upgrade in your body? These guys are great. That's the lie. That's the ruse. And these people basically want to institute on the planet what they call the three supers. And it's not so super.
We'll examine three central areas of transhumanist thought: super longevity, super intelligence, and super well-being. Dubbed the three supers because of their extraordinary transformative potential. Today, we have the minds and the equipment to begin developing technologies to combat aging. Unfortunately, we lack the will and the financial support to do so. Most of us are so accustomed to the idea of growing old that aging seems like just a fact of life. If modern medicine is supposed to keep us alive and healthy for as long as possible, then the anti-aging movement takes medicine to its logical conclusion. It's what happens when as long as possible means as long as we want.
Friend, and then finally, I think that from the last year, the one thing I've tried to put a priority on since I left the White House was getting some exercise in. I think that there's a good probability that my generation is, hopefully with the advances in science, either the first generation to live forever or the last generation that's going to die. And so we need to keep ourselves in pretty good shape.
Transhumanism is already being touted by some who claim to be Christian. Instead of looking forward to the blessed hope of eternal life to be delivered by God, these dangerous heretics see super longevity as humanity's way to achieve eternal life for ourselves.
Overcoming death, there are two ways of doing this. Radical life extension, which we'll hear from Aubrey de Grey later on today, and cybernetic immortality, that's the Ray Kurzweil theory where we remove the information pattern that is our mind from the biological substrate, the meat between our ears, and we put it into a computer, and then we upload it into the computer cloud, and you then have the experience of disembodied intelligence. And as long as you keep the computer recharged, you can live, indefinitely.
Let's move on to the next area of transhumanist thinking. Every year, computers are getting more powerful. What used to fill up a room now fits in our pockets. More crucially, the time it takes for computer power to double is also getting shorter. At the outset of computing, the doubling process took 18 months, and this interval appears to be getting smaller. Plot this on a graph, and it's not a straight line, but an exponential upward curve. We need only project into the future to see that there is a point at which this line is practically vertical, a moment in human history referred to as the technological singularity.
The singularity, particularly Ray Kurzweil, there will be in this evolutionary development from intelligence to superintelligence a moment in which what you and I in this generation create will take over. After all, our descendants will be smarter than we are. So we ought to give them the reins to the buckboard, right? And then when that takes over, we are going to begin the leap from the human to the post-human. We will become obsolete, and our descendants will become a post-human species. The trans in transhumanism means we're a step on the way to something beyond.
Just as God in the Bible designs and creates animals and plants and humans according to his wishes, now we are learning how to design and create life.
Yuval Harari thinks big for a living. Not so long ago, he was an obscure history professor, but his 2014 book, Sapiens, changed all that. He explored the past, cramming 150,000 years of human history into 400 pages.
Authority will shift,
transforming himself into a literary phenomenon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome once again Yuval Noah Harari.
Name dropped by the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and Barack Obama.
The other book that I really enjoyed, a book by an Israeli author, Yuval Harari.
His follow-up book, Homo Deus, tackled the future, elevating Harari to a sort of digital visionary.
We are probably one of the last generations of Homo sapiens, because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds.
What are humans for?
As far as we know, for nothing. I mean, there is no great cosmic drama. There is no universal drama with a role in it for Homo sapiens. I think that fake news have been with us for thousands of years. Just think of the Bible.
Given the rate at which an AI will be able to improve itself, it will quickly become capable of thought with precision, speed, and intelligence presently inconceivable to the human mind. We could be in private contact with this AI whenever we choose. The result of this is that we effectively merge with this AI, and its abilities become our own. This would propel the human race into a period of super-intelligence.
Then when they talk about super intelligence, they're talking of an IQ on the order of 1,000.
Really?
Revelation 13 verses 11, 16, and 17, and Revelation 14 verses 9 and 10. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. If anyone worships the beast and his image, and receives his mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself shall also drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out full strength into the cup of his indignation. He shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb.
I implanted an RFID chip into my hand. Call me crazy, but the possibilities are endless.
From paying for things with the wave of your hand to video cameras in place of your eyes.
They call me Iborg. You just pop it in, essentially. Iborg.
Welcome to the wonderful world of transhumans, people who modify their bodies using technology to enhance their abilities to superhuman levels. The transhumanist movement ultimately believes humans can eradicate aging and death by merging with machines and augmenting our bodies and minds.
A simple modification might be an RFID chip in your hand which can open a door, to the more extreme where we have neurotransmitters which are implemented into our brain where we can move things literally with our thoughts.
In January, Elon Musk announced that for the first time his company Neuralink implanted a brain chip in a human as part of a preliminary clinical trial.
This is fascinating. Neuralink aims to help people living with debilitating conditions communicate and control external devices with their thought.
Neuralink, co-founded by Elon Musk, is an experimental implantable brain-computer interface, or BCI, a chip surgically implanted by a robot and connected by threads to a patient's brain that allows the patient to control a computer or smartphone with their mind.
This is all from there to there. Yeah, man.
Wow. Real-life transhuman Len No calls himself an ethical hacker. His implant count? 10 and counting.
This one right here is a credit card.
Len can now hack into your phone in 30 seconds and bypass security protocols and let himself into buildings.
I have another one back here, which is for physical access.
Let's look at the last section, which deals with the issue of well-being. Imagine you're soon to be a parent. Your doctor informs you that, if you wanted, you could choose certain features of your child's biology. You could choose how genetically prone to depression they will be, their levels of anxiety, jealousy, anger, and even their pain threshold. Would you choose a high likelihood of chronic depression, an intolerably low pain threshold? How about panic attacks and anxiety? Probably not.
As if it weren't bad enough to implant chips into our bodies and connect our brains directly to the internet, essentially allowing for our thoughts to be read, we now also have the capability of editing human DNA. We would not have to go very far down this road to be in danger of forfeiting our humanity altogether, and with it, our redeemability.
The genie is out of the bottle.
In laboratories the world over, scientists are splicing and dicing the very building blocks of life. Our DNA.
This is the time to talk about it.
For the first time in history, we can transform every species on the planet. For better,
we can get rid of malaria and tick-borne disease and all sorts of other incredible health problems.
Or for worse.
What are we really doing? We're meddling about with nature's blueprint. There's a whole world out there. You don't know what they're doing.
Some boxes should be left closed.
It's happening. I have Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's caused by a mutation or a problem in the dystrophin gene.
One new technology could change that. It's called CRISPR.
CRISPR is like a spell checker for DNA. It has a two-component system. One component is like molecular scissors that can cut the DNA. The other component is like a GPS device for DNA. You can program the GPS device to deliver the scissors anywhere in the 6 billion letters of DNA. And as soon as the GPS device brings the scissors there, it will cut the DNA.
Can CRISPR cut out the single letter error in Ben Dupree's cells?
Hey, Ben!
He's about to find out.
You could call Ben Dupree patient 0.
Let me show you these cells, Ben. Those are Ben's heart muscle cells beating in a dish. And we have been able to correct your mutation in those cells using CRISPR.
Pablo Ross is trying something completely different. He's mixing human DNA with farm animals. His goal is to grow human organs inside pigs. He starts by injecting a few human stem cells into a pig embryo.
Pick up some cells. We
we can put the cells in there. And that's it. Then we just introduce some of these human cells into the embryo.
What I've seen with emerging genetic technologies is there's an increasing amount of putting things in here and putting things in this species and that species. And we need to make some decisions about what it is we're willing to accept and what we're not.
Ross's incubator holds tens of thousands of injected embryos. He grows them for a week, then checks to see if the human cells have divided. The human cells have fluorescent markers. And here they are, glowing red and growing in number.
Genesis 6. When mankind began to multiply on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of mankind were beautiful, and they took any they chose as wives for themselves. And the Lord said, My spirit will not remain with mankind forever, because they are corrupt. Matthew 24:37. But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. Humankind was already corrupted once. The breeding of the sons of God and the daughters of men resulted in the human hybrid Nephilim. God's response was the total destruction of the earth by flood. God will not allow humanity to be eradicated and replaced. If we continue down the path of transhumanism, he will put an end to it.
Geneticist Liangzhu Lai is on his way to see his laboratory creations. Lai removed a gene called myostatin from beagle embryos. The gene inhibits muscle growth.
我们用 CRISPR 对这两只狗进行了这个基因编辑。
Meet Hercules. He has twice the normal amount of muscle mass. Put him beside an ordinary beagle, and the difference is plain to see.
When you see those beagles, you just know that if you're seeing these individual animals changing and morphing into super beagles, so to speak, next we could be having the same discussion with pictures of humans.
The application of this technology is limited only by our imagination.
Zhang has developed a technique that combines DNA from 2 mothers and 1 father to create a 3-parent baby.
Human reproductive medicine is going to change forever.
In my family, there is some cases of cancer, and I'm wondering if the work that you're doing would allow me to prevent my future child from being susceptible to such cancers.
Certain type of the cancer already can be screened.
Once you open that door, a crack, you get the parents who say, well, since we've invested this much money in making sure that our child doesn't have a higher risk of breast cancer, let's also choose whatever, hair color, skin color, eye color.
What are all of the possibilities that may be open to me in terms of your technology?
In the future, I think we can edit the child. For example, we really have to have an offspring which can be NBA player. I think the general public will utilize the design baby technology. So we can get all this editing and we put it together and we can have a design baby.
You can write the ad copy for the fertility clinics. You must act now. Give your child the best start in life. It's all natural. It's DNA.
If you have resources to obtain the most cutting-edge technology in the world, this will lead to a separation between the haves and the have-nots.
Imagine a world in which wealthy parents purchased expensive genetic upgrades for their children. It's really a science fiction nightmare.
Are private corporations going to be offering design your baby services? Unless that's outlawed, yes. Who's going to make those determinations? Who is the God with all-seeing wisdom?
In a way, I think we're not playing God. We are helping God. Sometimes God is too busy.
The future of our civilization will primarily be determined by the technologies that we invent and the wisdom with which we choose to use them. More than technological power, it is wisdom that we need.
The technology for transhumanism is already here and increasing exponentially. All it will take is a global crisis for the masses to capitulate to it.
Only a catastrophe can shake humankind and open the path to a real system of global governance. And they say that we can't do it before the catastrophe, but we need to start laying the foundations so that when the disasters strike, we can react quickly. But people will just not have the motivation to do such a thing before the disaster strikes. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste, because a crisis is an opportunity to also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to, but in a crisis you see we have no chance. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me, so whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over.
Transhumanism is actually the mark for us, the church, to denote the end. As soon as we see it, we go, "Come, Lord Jesus." We look up. We say we're coming to the end. Let's labor for one last hour because it's all over. But the world out there, political, social, military, economic, they all think they're about to embark on their greatest hour. What a shock they are in for.
2 Thessalonians 2:9-12. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan, with all power, signs and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this reason God will send them strong delusion, that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who did not believe the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness.
Solving the problem of physical death, re-engineering humans to become little gods, that has all to do with wanting immortality. And as a Christian, I have a great deal to say about that, because what's happening, I believe, in the transhumanist, the desire for that is a parody on what Christianity actually is all about. I feel that the transhuman quest is an expression of the fact that we're hardwired with a longing for something transcendent, and it's trying to fulfill it. And I make people smile sometimes when I meet these people, transhumanists, and I say, guys, I respect what you're after, but you're too late. And they say, what? Too late? Of course we're not too late. I say, you actually are too late. 20 centuries ago, there was a resurrection in Jerusalem. If Jesus Christ broke the death barrier, that puts everything in a different light. Why? Because it affects you and me. How does it affect you and me? Because if that is the case, then we need to recalibrate and take seriously his claim to be God become human. I said, isn't that interesting? What are you trying to do? You're trying to turn humans into gods. The Christian message goes in the exact opposite direction. It tells us of a God who became human. Do you notice the difference? And of course, that actually gets people fascinated. I say, you are actually taking seriously the idea that humans can turn themselves into gods by technology and so on. Why won't you take seriously the idea that there is a God who became human? Is that any more difficult to do?